Hi. So this one's not really about the data. We know the situation is very bad. The UK is actually the seventh most impacted country in terms of deaths. It was 578 yesterday. No doubt it will go up today. But I don't want to talk so much about data as just how I'm generally feeling right now about all of this. I have very mixed feelings, which are more negative than positive, but mixed feelings. There's a lot of individual tragedies emerging from this. My student just told me about 20 minutes ago I had the online lesson that there was a grandfather in Wuhan who died of the virus, and his little grandson didn't know about it. But they were quarantined, and the grandfather was lying dead there. I assume health workers or someone found the little boy. But there's going to be a lot of situations like this. I read another sad story of an Italian nurse, and they've really been on the front line. I mean, I think the world's medical staff should get this year's Nobel Peace Prize, without question. But this nurse committed suicide because she feared that she had infected others with the virus, even though this woman had probably saved lives. It's very sad. Um, about 10 minutes ago, I heard my neighbor playing nice classical music. So it's nice. That side of it's nice to hear people sort of taking up endeavors um, that they wouldn't otherwise maybe have done, getting back to basics in a sense. For me personally, anyone who suffers anxiety or stress or depression, work-related depression, in normal circumstances, whilst there is a huge amount of concern out there about financial security, and I know there's pressure on the Chancellor to make measures with the self-employed, I need to look at how this affects my own situation because the sort of work I do, it's not like I get a receipt from, it's all done online. It's not the same sort of work as a lot of other self-employed people do. It's not a business. But anyway, there's just there's so many talking points around this. What I do think is despicable is these multi-millionaire CEOs, the likes of Tim Martin of Weatherspoons, and I hate to say it, Richard Branson. I used to respect Branson, but if this is accurate, it's very hard to respect what these guys are doing. Mike Ashley of Sports Direct. Well, Ashley's always been a controversial figure. I've never liked him. I think the way he treated staff before the crisis was disgusting. I mean, sort of working conditions in Sports Direct were controversial. Jeff Bezos of Amazon, um, or at least his UK affiliates, the Amazon scandals about workplace conditions here. But maybe there's actually a socio-political consequences. It may make people wake up to that ugly side of capitalism and sheer greed. So multi-billionaire CEOs who are making their staff go home, well, they have to go home, but who aren't paying them, that's unforgivable. These guys can personally pay the wages of pretty much all their staff. I mean, when you're that rich, I'm not talking about the CEO of a medium-sized company. I'm talking about really, really big companies like Weatherspoons and the Virgin Group. There's no excuses, and I think that's utterly despicable. And I think that when this crisis eventually ends, that should not be glossed over. It should be remembered, and these people need to face the full weight of public judgment because it's despicable. They may not be technically breaking any laws, but it's absolutely morally despicable, and they shouldn't be allowed to forget it. I know Mike Ashley's been on sort of damage limitations. I know we're sending money to the NHS or whatever it is, but there's basic things here. If you're not paying your staff, what does that say about your moral judgment in this crisis? That these CEOs are only interested in profit. Despicable. Um, there is a thing that I'm starting to get increasingly concerned about, and that is social implications of the restrictions. Now, like I said before, I totally understand the need for these restrictions because the nature of this virus. I mean, in Indian cities, the police are actually getting people to squat if they break the rules. And I mean, India is a densely populated country. I'm surprised there hasn't been far more cases there. But one thing does concern me is that people who are going out of their house for legitimate reasons, medicine, exercise, but most notably food. Exercise, even you can exercise inside, but food, I mean, this is a basic requirement. And that is something, it doesn't matter if you're 90 or 9, we all need food. Okay? So, people who have lost loved ones or they've got the virus, they're saying, don't be fooled, stay at home. I understand the strength of their feelings because they're probably thinking of people who are recklessly gathering. But everyone needs to understand that getting food is a basic requirement that is actually allowed by the regulations. And I'm a little bit wary that, for example, I've heard police are stopping people on the way to supermarkets. Now, getting food is allowed, and provided people are being sensible, they're not overcrowding tills, they are masks, it's debatable if they make a difference. But for example, I've noticed a lot of shopkeepers are wearing gloves. I've taken to wearing gloves when I've done exchanges the few times I have been out for necessary reasons. Um, what I'm saying is, I don't want to see a situation where people are being judged or stigmatized for legitimate reasons. And just because someone is young and healthy doesn't mean that they don't have legitimate reasons to go out. I mean, in my case, for example, I live by myself. I don't drive. My economy is not very strong. I'm self-employed, but not in a business. I'm literally getting an income from teaching online. That's all the money I've got. So, um, I have no choice but to go out. I could maybe I might look into what the situation is with getting food delivered, but I could only afford that if it was free. If there's an extra charge of that, I simply don't have the finances to do that. So I have to go out to get food. I simply have to. I did see someone raise concerns that what is to stop this sort of abuse of power not being lifted after the crisis. I think it will. I don't think that that will stay in place. Well, it won't because presumably when the crisis is over, whenever it's over, there'll be no need for that. But I'm a little bit wary of some of the mantra, like social distancing is extremely important. It is important that we listen to the guidelines. No one should be flippant about this. No one. The actress Linda Evangelista had to apologize. I believe she's an actress or a singer, I can't remember, but she had to apologize for dismissing it as a regular flu. I think she got the virus and she's now had to make a public apology for that. Um, I heard today that Carrie Simmons, being pregnant, Boris Johnson's partner, I think it's possible the Prime Minister may go into quarantine, maybe even might get it. In which case, I understand Dominic Raab will take over as de facto Prime Minister. Um, like I say, nothing in my life has had such an impact on so many people in such a profound way. But I'm just a bit aware that, I mean, quite honestly, I'm thinking if I go out, I'm not worried so much about getting the virus as being judged. Like, oh, this guy looks young and healthy. Why is he going out? But I'm not going out to be reckless. I'm going out because I have to. I have to get food. I mean, it's most days I'm staying in. I'm following the guidelines. I'm staying in. I've got enough food right now. At some point, that will run out. I need to buy food. So I think this point really needs to be stressed. And I mean, I totally understand people who have lost loved ones. They're going to be feeling very emotionally raw. But people need to understand that not everyone who's going outside is being reckless. We have to eat. It's the most basic thing. Exercise is a little bit more contentious because you cannot exercise inside. You could do push-ups, or there's plenty of ways to exercise inside, presuming you have the space. Um, but that really needs to be understood. I'm going to look into this volunteer program with the NHS. If it involves driving, obviously that's ruled out. But if it's like filling in paperwork or something, I want to do my part. I want to do my civic duty and help where I can. Um, but that's my feelings right now. I'm kind of feeling depressed, bummed out about the whole thing. And I imagine this is going to have mental health impacts on a lot of people. I mean, it's kind of going to have something akin to a wartime spirit in a sense, because we're all in this together, literally, not just a political slogan. We really are. And I know that NEC in Birmingham is being converted or will be converted into a huge facility. It's the largest building in the country. The XL Arena in London is being converted already into a large hospital. Um, but one thing people shouldn't be doing is judging others unless it's pretty obvious. Like if you have a group of people and they're having a barbecue or they're having a party, I feel angry with that. That is downright stupid. But people shouldn't be judging people just for going outside, because there may well be very legitimate reasons for doing that. So I understand, and I've stressed the need to follow these guidelines. And I agree that maybe the government should have done this a lot earlier. I have to say, if I was an American, I would be furious with Trump right now. If this man gets re-elected, it would be an absolute joke, bad joke. Donald Trump is the worst president in modern American history. This man is a disgrace. His approach to this is so flippant, so ignorant. I mean, a few weeks ago he was saying, "Oh, it'll all be over soon. The situation is in decline." This is not verbatim, but this is the gist of what he was saying. And we can all get together again for Easter. And apparently, he's showing impatience. The business is not being done as normal. That the country get on top. Why is this? Well, maybe because Trump is relying on the strong economy for his re-election. Because I don't think Trump gives a shit about ordinary people. I really don't. All that talk about cleaning the swamp, Trump is the swamp. And if you can't see that, you really need to wake up. I do feel quite angry about that because a lot of Americans will die unnecessarily because of the stubbornness and ignorance of this leader, so-called leader. Now he's changing his rhetoric and claiming that he knew it was a pandemic before everyone else did. Apparently, he was even issuing sort of self-help guidelines on supposed mixtures that can. I mean, this is pseudoscience. A guy in one of the Midwest states died from some hocus pocus recipe that Trump suggested. People at this point, I would just ignore the president. I mean, he has shown an utter lack of leadership. They need to listen to the Surgeon General, people like that. Um, People might say it's the wrong time to play politics, but I do think Biden is showing a lot more statesmanship during this crisis than Trump has. And I don't think America can continue on its course. The strong economy was the only thing Trump had going, really. And it looks like not just America, but the world could be heading into a recession. But the way he's handled this has, in typical Trump fashion, been one of narcissism. Getting into spats with journalists for doing their job, reprimanding journalists for asking valid questions, accusing journalists of scaremongering. When what has he been doing? Just flippantly dismissing science. And then now trying to take credit for it. The man is a complete disgrace. And I mean, of course, I'm angry with the Chinese government. They have a lot to answer for. I understand one American lawyer is trying to put a lawsuit against them. I don't know how that would work. Certainly, the Chinese government has a hell of a lot to answer for because they may well have withheld important information from the rest of the world. That will go down in history. The Chinese government is, in my view, foremost responsible for the spread of this pandemic. However, each government is to be judged on its own approach, and in my view, Trump has come across very badly in this. Whatever good things the federal government has done, Trump's reckless statements, his sheer ignorance is astounding. It really is. And in the UK, it may emerge that the Johnson administration should have done a lot more earlier. If we see a death toll like Spain or Italy, I think public anger will grow. But like I say, the situation here is that we talk a lot about compassion. That also means that people shouldn't be rushing to judgment. And I'm starting to see some people get self-righteous, like say, "Oh, or anyone who goes out is an idiot." But what you need to understand is some people have to go out, and in some professions, it's all very well talking about social distancing, but that really is easier said than done in some professions, like construction workers or other such professions that are necessary. So I'm a bit concerned about some of the social implications of this. I mean, it's great to see what happened last night, the nationwide sort of respect for NHS workers. I think that's great. And we have seen the best of human nature in this crisis, but we could also see some ugly side effects from this. And everyone just needs to think rationally and don't rush to judgment. If you're one of those people that is out there saying, "Oh, anyone going outside is an idiot, I'm holier than thou." Not everyone's in the same position financially. Not everyone can afford to just order food from home. It's not that simple, and that needs to be understood.